What if I told you that lighting a candle does far more than you ever imagined? What if I told you that every time you strike a match, whisper an intention, and place that small flame before God, heaven erupts with activity you cannot see? And what if I told you that one of the greatest mystics of our time was shown exactly what happens in the spiritual realm the moment a candle is lit with intention? This is the vision Padre Pio received. A vision so profound, so tender, that it reveals the hidden covenant between a soul and heaven through something as simple as a flickering flame. Most people think lighting a candle is just a symbol, a tradition, a gesture. But heaven sees it as a doorway. And what Padre Pio witnessed on the other side of that doorway will change the way you light every candle for the rest of your life. Stay with me, because this is the story of the smallest flame that opens the largest door. Padre Pio felt the vision begin not with brightness, but with warmth. A soft glow pressed against the edge of his spirit, like the first flicker of a flame in a dark church. The air changed, thickened with meaning, heavy with something sacred, yet terribly overlooked. And in that sacred stillness, Padre Pio realized heaven was about to show him the hidden spiritual reality behind a gesture so simple that most people never paused to consider it. The flame appeared first, a single candle burning in a quiet chapel, its small light trembling as if responding to the heart of the one who had lit it. The person who placed it there walked away with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. They weren't sure if lighting the candle did anything. If God noticed such a tiny act. To them, it was a symbol. To heaven, it was far more. Padre Pio saw the flame shift. A subtle pulse of light rose from it, thin but unmistakably alive. Heaven responded instantly. What the person had offered as a small gesture became a doorway, and grace moved through that doorway like a breath of wind entering a closed room. Every candle lit with intention becomes a spiritual signal. Padre Pio watched the flame stretching upward, almost as if carrying something, and then he saw it. The intention, it hovered in the air, above the flame like a whisper made visible, fragile, honest, trembling. With longing, it didn't matter if the intention had been spoken aloud or buried in the deepest corner of the heart. The flame knew. The flame carried it. Then heaven revealed something astonishing. The flame of the candle began to divide, not physically, but spiritually, creating small threads of light that moved toward different corners of the chapel. These threads represented every emotion present in the soul when the candle was lit: hope, sorrow, desperation, gratitude, fear, love. Each thread rose like incense, and heaven received each one differently. Padre Pio saw angels draw close, not majestic warriors this time, but gentle attendants of grace. Moving with quiet reverence around the flame, they touched the threads of intention lightly, refining them, strengthening them, carrying them upward. And Padre Pio understood. Lighting a candle is not sending a message outward. It is allowing heaven to come inward. The vision shifted to another candle, this one lit by someone carrying deep grief. Their hands trembled as they placed it before a statue of Mary. Not knowing what to say, unable to find words, Padre Pio saw the grief wrapped around the flame like a cloak. But instead of being suffocated, the flame burned brighter. Mary appeared, not in form, but in presence. A soft radiance surrounded the flame, almost like a mother placing her hands around a child to shield it from the wind. The person walked away without noticing anything unusual. But Padre Pio saw the truth. Mary receives every candle lit with sorrow as a cry for help. Heaven does not require eloquence. A flame is enough. The next part of the vision showed something different. Padre Pio saw a person lighting a candle for someone else. An intercession. As the flame rose, another presence appeared beside it. The soul being prayed for, whether living or departed, did not matter. Heaven recognized the direction of the intention and responded accordingly. If the person was alive, Padre Pio saw the candle release a gentle protection around them, like a spiritual umbrella, shielding them from discouragement and temptation for the rest of that day. If the person was deceased, Padre Pio saw a burst of consolation reaching the soul. Especially if the soul was in purgatory, it was not dramatic, not overwhelming, but deeply comforting. Like a hand resting on a weary shoulder, even a candle lit silently, with a name whispered only in the heart, reached the dead with a grace they could feel. Then Padre Pio saw something that surprised him, a candle lit with a broken intention, someone asking for healing but unsure if they deserved it, someone praying for forgiveness while still ashamed, someone begging for a miracle while secretly doubting it would happen. Instead of weakening the candle's effect, these fractures in the intention made the flame more raw, more honest. Heaven does not respond to perfect faith. It responds to real faith, and real faith always trembles a little. The flame bent sideways for a moment, as if struggling under the weight of the person's doubt. Then Padre Pio saw an angel steady it. Doubt does not extinguish grace. Intention, even wounded, invites heaven. The vision shifted again. This time, Padre Pio saw someone lighting a candle, mechanically, almost casually, out of routine rather than devotion. There was no strong intention, no specific request, no deep thought. It was habit, nothing more. Yet even here, the flame recognized something, a trace of past devotion, a seed of longing never fully forgotten, a distant memory of prayer. The candle burned with simple loyalty, and heaven accepted it. Padre Pio saw that not every candle burns with emotional fire, but every candle burns with spiritual meaning. Even routine devotion leaves a mark on heaven. Then the vision expanded dramatically. Padre Pio was shown what happens in the spiritual realm when a candle is lit for protection. As the flame rose, it sent out a dome of pale light around the person. Not a shield that prevented suffering, but a shield that weakened the influence of evil. Temptations became easier to resist. Anger softened. Fear loosened its grip. Confusion dissipated. Darkness stepped back. Padre Pio saw demons recoil, not in terror, but in irritation. Light bothers them. Intention repels them. A candle lit with faith, however small, creates a boundary they cannot cross as easily. The devil does not fear candles. He fears what candles represent: hope, prayer, remembrance, intercession, humility, desire for God. The flame is not powerful on its own. It is powerful because it becomes a vessel of the soul. Then heaven revealed something even more mysterious. Padre Pio saw a dark church at night, long closed, empty, silent, but on the altar, several candles continued to burn. There were no people present, no eyes watching, no prayers being whispered. Yet the candles continued their work. Each flame released small bursts of grace at intervals, almost like heartbeats of light. Padre Pio saw angels remain in the church throughout the night, touching the flames, carrying the intentions they represented into the spiritual realm. Even when the person who lit the candle forgot about it, heaven did not. A candle does not stop praying when you walk away. The flame becomes a standing petition before God, a continual offering long after the intention has left your mind. The vision resumed, with a brightness that did not come from the candle itself, but from the spiritual world surrounding it. Padre Pio realized now that heaven was not simply showing the meaning of a candle. It was revealing the covenant hidden inside the gesture. He watched as the flame began to transform. It rose, lengthening, sharpening, until it resembled the point of a needle. Through that needle point, a thread of grace stretched upward like a cord connecting earth to heaven. The intention tied to the flame, simple or complex, hopeful or broken, was now woven into that thread. And Padre Pio understood. Every candle lit with intention becomes a tether that binds the soul to God's response. Then he saw something astonishing. The thread split into two. One thread rose toward heaven, carrying the desire of the soul upward like incense in reverse. But the second thread moved downward toward the person's heart, returning grace that matched the intention. It did not matter if the intention was for healing, for peace, for forgiveness, for direction, for the departed, or for someone far away. The flame not only lifted the intention, it delivered heaven's answer back into the person's deeper life. Lighting a candle does not just send something up. It brings something down. Padre Pio watched this exchange continue quietly, continuously. Even when the world around the flame was unaware, as long as the candle burned, heaven remained actively engaged with the intention it represented. Then the scene widened. Padre Pio saw thousands of candles lit across the world. Tiny flames scattered like constellations in a night sky. Some burned in grand cathedrals beneath stained glass windows. Others flickered in small rural churches. Some burned on kitchen tables. Some on makeshift altars in apartments. Some in hospital rooms. Some in lonely corners where only God could see. But heaven saw them all as one great movement of the human heart. Each candle had its own intention. Each intention had its own light. But all of them rose together like a single spiritual language. Padre Pio watched angels weaving these intentions into patterns, graces being matched to needs, healing sent to the wounded, forgiveness poured into hardened hearts, guidance offered to confused souls, consolation reaching the grieving, protection spread over the vulnerable. The flame was small. The effect was not. Then heaven revealed something Padre Pio did not expect. He saw candles lit without words, someone lighting one simply because they felt moved, or because their heart hurt, or because they needed direction, but could not name it. These wordless intentions formed the brightest flames of all. The angels seemed to lean forward, listening not to speech, but to the silence of the heart. Heaven does not wait for articulate prayer. It responds to desire. Padre Pio felt a deep tenderness wash over him. Next, the vision turned darker, not in evil, but in solemnity. Padre Pio saw a person lighting a candle for a departed loved one, someone who had died suddenly, unexpectedly, leaving a trail of grief behind. The flame rose, trembling like a soul caught between sorrow and hope. Padre Pio watched it carefully. The flame shifted color, very faintly, barely visible to earthly eyes, but spiritually distinct. The candle for the departed became a beacon reaching toward purgatory, the light descending like a soft rain onto the soul being prayed for. Padre Pio felt the soul respond. Wounds that had not yet been fully healed softened. Regrets that had held the soul in place loosened their grip. Sorrows that had pierced the soul deeply began to melt. The light did not erase suffering, but it lightened it. The way dawn lightens the weight of shadows. Before the sun rises fully, one candle lit by love eased the journey of the dead. Padre Pio watched as souls who had no one to pray for them, souls forgotten by the world, received grace from candles lit by strangers. Intentions, like for all the forgotten souls, or for those who have no one to pray for them, spread across purgatory like a gentle tide. No soul is left untouched when even one person remembers the forgotten. Then the vision shifted. Abruptly, Padre Pio saw someone lighting a candle while wrestling with guilt and shame, someone afraid to return to God, convinced they were beyond forgiveness. When they lit the candle, the flame seemed dim at first, trembling under the weight of the person's fear. But then something unexpected happened. An unseen presence, Christ himself, stood near the flame, not visibly, not in form, but with unmistakable tenderness. The flame steadied. Its light grew warmer. The intention, wrapped in fear, lifted upward and broke open like a bud blooming. Mercy entered the person's heart before they had even dared to ask for it. Lighting a candle with trembling hands is sometimes the first confession a soul makes. Padre Pio saw Christ soften the heart, preparing it for repentance, for healing, for return. A candle can be the first bridge between a soul and God after years of spiritual silence. Then heaven revealed a profound Mystery. Padre Pio saw that every candle lit with sincere intention leaves a trace in the soul, something like a spiritual mark the devil cannot erase. These marks accumulate across a lifetime. Some people carry dozens, some carry hundreds, some carry only a few, but each mark brings with it a history of grace, the history of every moment they reached toward God. And when that soul dies, the marks become lights. Padre Pio saw a soul entering eternity, surrounded by faint lights, the memories of every candle they had lit. These lights called angels to their side. They softened judgment. They revealed a life that had reached toward God, even in weakness. Each candle had been a moment of desire, and desire is what God judges most gently. Then the vision shifted again. Padre Pio saw someone lighting a candle for a very precise intention, guidance in a decision. As the flame lit, Padre Pio saw heaven open a path before them, not immediately, not dramatically, but slowly, clearing confusion over the days that followed. Heaven did not answer with words, it answered with clarity. Lighting a candle aligns the soul with God's wisdom. The final scene of the vision showed something Padre Pio would carry in his heart forever. He saw a candle burn down completely, the flame finally extinguishing. Darkness returned to the room, but spiritually, something lingered. A residue of grace remained in the space. The intention had been fully carried, fully offered, fully received. Even though the flame disappeared, its effect continued. A candle burns only for a time. Its grace burns much longer. Sometimes for months, sometimes for years, sometimes until a soul reaches heaven, the flame ends. The prayer does not. Padre Pio felt the last ember of the vision fade, leaving behind a warmth that stayed in his chest like a revelation sealed by God himself. He understood now that lighting a candle is not a small gesture or a symbolic action. It is a cooperation with heaven, a physical sign that unlocks invisible realities. A candle lit with intention becomes a prayer with shape, a hope with flame, a cry with light, a bridge with fire, a gift given to God that God uses to give something back. And Padre Pio knew that if souls understood even a fraction of what happens each time they strike a match and lift their intention toward heaven, the world would glow with candles day and night, because even the smallest flame can open the largest door. So what does this mean for you? The next time you light a candle, remember what heaven sees. You are not performing empty ritual. You are not clinging to superstition. You are opening a doorway. That small flame you light becomes a living prayer, a prayer that rises when your lips are silent, a prayer that continues when you walk away, a prayer that reaches the living and the dead, a prayer that carries your deepest longings to the throne of God. It doesn't require perfect faith. It doesn't require eloquent words. It doesn't require you to feel anything at all. It only requires intention, a desire, a reaching toward God, however faint. Light a candle for healing. Light a candle for someone you love. Light a candle for the forgotten souls in purgatory. Light a candle when you don't know what to pray. Light a candle when your heart is breaking. Light a candle when words fail you, and know that heaven is listening. Angels are attending. Grace is moving. Protection is forming. Intercession is working. Mercy is descending. The flame may be small, but the door it opens is vast, and every candle you light leaves a mark on your soul that will shine in eternity. So go, light your candle, whisper your intention, and trust that what Padre Pio saw is happening for you right now. Heaven is responding, even if you can't see it, because the smallest flame can open the largest door.